the day the neighborhood fought back. It was a crisp autumn morning in Maplewood, a quiet suburban enclave where picket fences and manicured lawns whispered of order and pride. Ellen Harper, tying her shoelace on her front porch, felt the cool breeze against her face. She wore joggers, a faded hoodie, and her legally holstered sidearm, a habit from years in law enforcement. But as she stood, two patrol cars screeched to a halt. "Ma'am, step back," hands visible, barked an officer, his hand hovering over his holster. Ellen's lips twitched with amusement. The officer's eyes darted to the badge on her waistband, and their faces drained of color. "Chief Harper?" "Oh, Lord," one stammered. Across the street, Margaret Voss, the HOA president, stood smugly, phone in hand, unaware she'd just accused the new police chief of being a gun-toting threat. This wasn't just a misunderstanding, was the spark that would ignite a neighborhood war. Margaret, a self-appointed queen of Maplewood, had ruled the HOA with an iron fist, fining residents for trivial infractions, $25 for overgrown grass, $50 for sidewalk chalk, $100 for lingering holiday lights. Her latest obsession? Banning visible firearms, despite open carry laws in their state. Ellen, a calm, no-nonsense woman in her 50s, had moved to Maplewood with her husband, Tom, seeking peace after decades in high-stakes policing. But Margaret saw Ellen's holster as a challenge to her authority. Days earlier, Margaret had stormed onto Ellen's lawn, uninvited, while Ellen pruned her roses. "You'll be fined $500 a day for that gun," Margaret snapped. Ellen, wiping dirt from her hands, explained her rights as an off-duty officer. "The HOA can't regulate firearms, Margaret. It's the law." Margaret scoffed. "You're supposed to be an example, not a vigilante." Ellen's reply was measured. "I'm setting an example following the law, not making it up." Margaret stormed off, muttering, "I'll fix this." She did be calling 911, falsely reporting an armed female threat. The responding officers, realizing their mistake, apologized profusely. Ellen, unfazed, fixed Margaret with a steady gaze. "You filed a false report. That's a felony." Margaret's smugness faltered. "I didn't know it was you. You weren't in uniform." Ellen's voice was steel. "You knew enough to call in a threat without verifying. You endangered everyone." That evening, neighbors rallied. 6 families arrived with casseroles and sodas, outraged by Margaret's antics. "She's unhinged," said one. "How can we help?" Their support warmed Ellen, who preferred staying out of the spotlight despite her promotion. But Margaret doubled down, publishing a newsletter accusing Ellen of divisive behavior and hinting at abuse of power. The neighborhood buzzed with tension. Would Margaret's lies unravel, or would she tighten her grip? Ellen didn't retaliate publicly. Instead, she filed a harassment complaint with the city attorney, submitting the 911 transcript and her body cam footage. At a closed-door city council meeting, she exposed Margaret's unauthorized fines and anonymous letters threatening residents. One counselor gasped, "I thought HOAs handled picnics, not regimes." The room nodded grimly. Margaret, oblivious to the brewing storm, called an emergency HOA meeting to ban visible weapons. But residents pushed back. A quiet retiree, Harold, stood. "You lied about our police chief, endangered us all, and you're lucky we're not voting you out tonight." Margaret's face reddened, but she pressed on, unaware that her vice president, Daniel, was distancing himself. When he whispered a warning mid-meeting, her confidence cracked. The neighborhood's anger boiled over. At the next meeting, residents demanded a no-confidence vote. Margaret laughed nervously. "Let's see how loyal you are." The result? 28 to remove her, 2 to keep her, 1 abstention. She stormed out, but her downfall was just beginning. The city's legal team uncovered $75,000 in missing HOA funds, funneled to a sham security firm. Files revealed Margaret's chilling surveillance. Spreadsheets listing priority control targets with fabricated violations like loud laughter or potential sedition. She'd even profiled teenagers as mobile youth units. Ellen remained steady, documenting every move. When Margaret filed a defamation lawsuit, Ellen's brother, an attorney, dismantled it with damning evidence, a private HOA chat where Margaret mocked Ellen and plotted her ouster. The judge, unimpressed, dismissed the case, warning Margaret of the consequences for false claims. Still, Margaret spiraled, crashing a town barbecue with a megaphone, ranting about corruption. Escorted out by a marshal, she became a neighborhood punchline. The final blow came when investigators raided Margaret's storage unit, finding HOA property, surveillance drones, and resident dossiers. Charged with fraud, illegal surveillance, and misuse of funds, Margaret took a plea deal, testifying against other HOAs to avoid prison. Her house was sold to cover restitution, and she vanished from Maplewood. Ellen, meanwhile, shaped a new era. The HOA, under interim leadership, adopted transparent bylaws and a public voting portal. Sidewalks bloomed with chalk art. The park hosted its first Easter egg hunt in years. Ellen declined fanfare but spoke at town halls, training officers on handling false reports and neighbor disputes. Her story inspired statewide HOA reforms, mandating audits and resident voting rights. 1 year later, Maplewood celebrated with a block party, no speeches, just laughter and music. Ellen and Tom stood together, watching kids chase fireflies. Margaret's reign was a distant memory, replaced by trust and community. Ellen smiled at Tom. The best part? We didn't just stop her. We got each other back. The neighborhood had learned a hard lesson. Unchecked power breeds chaos, but integrity and unity rebuild stronger. Ellen hadn't sought to be a hero, but her quiet strength had shown Maplewood what leadership truly meant. What do you think about Ellen's response to Margaret's abuse of power? Have you faced similar injustices or seen bullying in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss how we confront power and violence in our lives. Your voice matters.